Hostel 2 is the superior movie, let's do it. Hostel 2 opens up with us seeing what happens to Paxton from Hostel 1, which is that he is beheaded by the elite hunting company as revenge for killing one of their members. Flash to Rome and we see these 3 American students, Beth, Whitney, and Lorna, and they meet this model Excel who convinces them to go to Slovakia to go to these hot springs. So they decide to go with her and they check into a hostel. So we know exactly where this is going. And we see that the 3 of their passports are being uploaded to an auction site. And in this really weirdly fun scene, we see the auction take place. And back in America, Todd and Stuart bid on Whitney and Beth and win. So they go to Slovakia. The 4 girls end up going to a festival that night, and Whitney tells Lorna how Beth's mother died and was super rich and left everything to Beth. So Beth has a shit ton of money, basically. Meanwhile, Todd and Stuart are actually at the same festival, and Stuart ends up meeting Beth, who he has literally bought to kill. And the 2 of them have a very friendly conversation. Lorna, who is super shy and reserved, actually ends up meeting this guy. And she goes off with him, which is a terrible mistake because he ends up kidnapping her. And when she wakes up, she is bound and hanging upside down over a bath. And she meets her end in what I would probably consider my favorite movie death ever. Whitney and Beth kind of chalk it up to oh, she went off with this guy, whatever, she's fine. And they end up going to the hot springs with Excel. Now, Beth falls asleep, and when she wakes up, she can't find anybody, and she starts being chased by a bunch of men. She ends up fleeing and running into the woods where she runs into this gang of children. But she ends up being saved by Excel and this man, Sasha. And they take her to Sasha's mansion, where then she continues to be followed by these men who were trying to take her earlier. And at this point, she realizes that Excel is associated with these people and fucking set her up. She tries to run away, and she ends up finding this room full of all these decapitated heads that are on pedestals, one of which being Paxton's. And at this point, she is caught and captured. When Beth wakes up, she is bound to a chair, and her captor is Stuart, who she met at that party. Stuart tells him that his friend Todd is super rich and basically paid for the 2 of them to do this together, but he doesn't really want to do it. Beth basically convinces him to let her go, and he does, but then as she goes to leave, somebody knocks her out. Meanwhile, we see what's happening to Whitney in another room where she is with her captor Todd. And Todd goes to start torturing her, but when he hurts her the first time, he fucking panics. And he tries to leave, but the guards are like, you're in this club now, you have to kill her. And he refuses to do so, so they unleash their attack dogs on him and they murder him. Meanwhile, back here, we see that the person who knocked out Beth was Stuart because he decided he actually does want to kill her. Because she looks like his wife, who he hates. Fucking loser. But he can't kill his wife because he'd be caught, so this is the next best thing. At the same time, the club is trying to find somebody to kill Whitney. And they offer it to Stuart, who becomes infuriated when he realizes that they killed Todd. So he decides to take the offer and goes and kills Whitney. When he comes back, Beth, being the boss-ass bitch that he is, manipulates him to untie her by saying oh, I like you, I'm attracted to you, I'm not like your wife. And when he does it, she fights him off and chains him to the chair. Now, the guards outside know that something's up and come in with the dogs. And when they come in, Beth has a knife to Stuart's. And Sasha, who's the leader, comes in, and Beth's I want to buy my way out of here. And Sasha's ha ha ha, you can't afford it. And Beth's oh baby, I can fucking afford it. Stuart tries to outbid her, but they know that Todd was paying for the whole thing. So Sasha's okay, you can pay, but to be in this club, you have to kill somebody. At which point, Beth cuts off Stuart's and feeds it to the fucking dog and lets him bleed out. She ends up killing Excel too.